Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the Canadian Workshop. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. To start off with, we got this new wireless microphone, and hopefully it'll make the sound much better for my videos. If it does or it doesn't, drop a comment below and let me know. So what we've got here is we picked up a Pelican Catch 100 sit on top fishing kayak. This thing here is supposed to be one of the best budget kayaks. You can stand up and fish out of it. It's very stable. It's 10 feet long, and it comes with some fairly basic options. It's used to us, so whoever had it before installed a Scotty track here in the center. It comes with a very comfortable seat, and the seat is adjustable. You have two settings. You've got down low, so if it's wavy or if you're paddling long distances, you set it down low. And the other setting is up higher, so if you're fishing, you bring it up higher, makes it a little bit more comfortable, so your feet and your legs aren't straight out in front of you. So this is up a little bit higher, so it makes it again more comfortable for fishing and sitting in here all day. But one thing that I find it's missing is options for attaching rod holders and fish finders and other accessories. Like mentioned, the person who had it before us put in a Scotty track here in the middle. One thing that I'd like to do is add two more tracks on these sections here. There's a nice flat spot where tracks could have come installed from the factory, but I guess maybe to cut down on cost, they didn't have them on there. So I'm going to put a track here, and the same spots on each side. That'll allow me to mount my fish finder on there, and cup holders, other accessories, so it'll allow me to mount those on there. And another spot is this flat section here on each side of the seat. Now there is a dimple here beside the seat where it's a little spot to mark where you can drill and install an accessory, and I'm assuming it'd be something like this flush mount rod holder back here. It just gives you an idea of where to drill into the kayak. And I went online as one of the forums that I'm part of on Facebook, and I was asking questions. Should I mount a flush mount rod holder here or a track? Now, my idea for this is that I could install a flush mount rod holder facing forward, and I have one right here. So I could install a forward-facing flush mount rod holder so that as I'm fishing, I can put my rod in here and it would hold my rod for me while I'm landing a fish or changing a lure. So what people mentioned on the forum is that if I have a fishing rod here, what'll happen is it'll be in the way of my paddling. So if I have a fishing rod mounted here going up, when I'm trying to paddle while sitting on the seat, it'll be in the way. So one thing I'm thinking I'm going to do here, now I did spend quite a bit of time thinking and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I think the best thing to do would be a little bit of best of both worlds, is to install the forward-facing rod holder in this spot here, so I can put a net to get ready to land a fish, or I can temporarily hold my fishing rod while I'm changing lures or rebaiting. And what I could also do is add a track just behind it. So I could have this rod holder in place and have a track here, because people are saying, well, if you're going to have a rod holder there, you're going to want it to be able to swivel out to the side, or if you're trolling, you want your rod holder to be pointed to the back. And that is a great point, but I'm not sure I'd be able to have a rod holder here holding my rod pointing backwards while I'm fishing, because it'll be in the way of my seat. Now, it might not be as much in the way when I'm paddling, but I don't know, because it's right beside me still here while I'm sitting here. So I think I will take a chance and install these forward-facing rod holders and the track here. So if I wanted to, I could always install one of these rod holders here, even though there's the forward-facing flush mount rod holder there. Now, looking at this here, if I install this rod holder, well, the butt end of the rod is going to be hitting my legs anyways. And if I'm going to be fishing and having the rod pointed backwards like this, I might as well have my rod just right here, because then the reel is going to be hitting me. It'll be in the way of my paddle strokes anyways. So I think the best thing to do would be put a flush mount rod holder here, install the track back here for accessories. I'll have a track here and here for more accessories and my fish finder, cup holders, and whatnot. That way it'll give me more options, more flexibility. If you think I'm wrong and I shouldn't be doing this, let me know in the comments. It'll probably be, well, it will be too late by the time I read it, but at least I'll know, right? I'll know what you guys all think. It's always hard putting holes into something because it's permanent, right? This ain't Looney Tunes. We can't just move the holes around as we need to. Yep, let's get going. Okay, so what we're gonna do to mount this is we're going to use the foam gasket that they have. And I gotta make sure I put this on the right direction. Okay, so we're gonna use the foam gasket that's supplied, and we're going to center it over the dimple here in the kayak. And we're gonna use that to drill a hole using the hole saw. And I'm gonna start the hole first, and then I'm gonna angle it and put it at an angle because it's an oval shaped hole because the tube is going in at an angle. Does anybody else hate drilling holes into stuff because it's like kind of permanent? Oh God, please hope this works. All right, so got to make sure that the rod is facing the right direction, and the one in the back is angled slightly outwards. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So it's not pointing straight forward, it'll be somewhat out to the side, but I need to make sure that when it does go out to the side, that the bottom part here does not hit the edge of the kayak. So I don't want this piece to hit inside, so I need to make sure that I'm going to have the clearance that I need. So I do want to have it out maybe about that. I wonder, I'm going to need to figure out how I can make both sides exactly the same, get the proper angle on that. But yeah, that's about where I'm going to go, unless I make it flush compared to the one in the back here. All right, so I'm going to have it going out that way. I'm going to take a Sharpie, and I hope this microphone works well and you guys can hear me. I'm going to take a Sharpie and just draw a line around the hole where I'm going to drill it. It'll be roughly like that. That way I know how to angle my my hole saw. All right, here goes nothing. So then drill this in first, and then I'm going to want to have this at a bit of an angle. So it's an oval hole. There we go. Whew. All right, here's hoping. Okay, so we've got the hole in there now. This will fit in nice and snug, and I can play with the angle a little bit. There you go. How does that look, guys? Leave a comment down below if you think that looks half decent right there. I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm just gonna take a file and just clean up the outside edge of this hole. A round file would definitely work best for this, but can't find mine right now, so this will do. I just want to get rid of these burrs on the outside. There, I think that'll be good. Now there is a cap that comes with these, and if you're interested in getting a set of these, I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can order a set. And the ones that I got actually came in a 4-pack. So that's where it's going to sit. It does have a rubber cap on it. I'm not kind of fond of this cap. It might get in the way, and if it's closed while you're fishing and you try to open it up to put your rod in. Once it's on there, I guess if I decide to take it off, I'll have to drill out the rivets, or I could mount it without that plug. See, if I go without the plug, I think it'd be a lot more accessible. Do we really need the cap? That's just to keep water out, but the important thing to look at when you're ordering these for your kayaks is you don't want the ones made for boats. You need the ones for kayaks where it's completely sealed off on the bottom. If there's a hole in the bottom and you're out in the rain, well, or even just from paddling or moving around, water will get in and you'll end up filling up your kayak. So you want to make sure that you get the ones that have a solid bottom and no holes. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to forego installing this cap because I don't really see a need for one. I mean, if you want to you put your rod in there, you take it out, you go to put your rod back in, it could just get in the way. So I think I'll just do without it. So that fits just nice there. I'm just lining up the holes in the foam for the screws. I have a set of self-centering drill bits that I use that are quite handy, especially if you're installing cabinets or hinges and you want the hole of the screw to be perfectly centered to the hole. Because if it's off to the side when you put your screw in, it'll force your hinge or whatever you happen to be drilling to shift to one side or another. So then this will make sure that the hole is completely centered. It is smaller than the size of the rivets that I'm using, the Kayak rivets. But I'll use this as a guide, and then I'll just drill a hole bigger afterwards. There's one. 2 and 3. All right, so what I'll do is I'll pop this out now that the 3 holes there are marked. We can see them 1, 2, 3, and then I'll just grab my Kayak rivets. Now these are special rivets that you use for kayaks, and what it is when you squeeze the rivet down, I don't know if you can see it on camera here, but there's these lines. There's 3 slits in the rivet itself, and it forces it to push the fingers out, and it grabs really well. So I'll leave a link to these as well in the description below if ever you're interested in getting some if you're doing work on a kayak. So I'll get a drill bit here just the right size of the rivet. 3/16 should be about right. So I'll get rid of that one. So I'll drill the one here. There we go. Test that out. Should have tested it on scrap first. Nope, that'll be perfect. Okay, so we're going to use a 3/16. Drill out these other holes. There we go. I'll grab my rivet gun and we'll get this put in place. Now I could use screws to mount this in place, but I prefer to use these rivets. I find they hold a lot better, and I don't want to risk just having the thickness of the plastic or a screw going just through the thickness of the plastic to hold it in place. And if you look at the stock flush mount rod holder, they're held on with rivets as well, just to make sure that it's tight. All right, so we got these rivets, and like I mentioned, once I squeeze down, that foam will compress and we'll seal that pretty good. I'm not worried that water's going to get in. As I'm squeezing down here, I can see it's really squeezing well. And the foam is squished down tight, so that's good. The water won't be able to get in there. So put this second one in. There we go. 2. Last one, and we'll have this side in place, and we'll just do the other side. There you go. Sorry if this is shaking the camera there, the close-up camera. All right, so we have our rod holder in place now. And the foam is squished down tight. It's sealing all the holes. You can actually see it squeeze out on that side. And that's it. Okay, so that one's in place. I'll do the other one off camera. You guys don't need to see me do the same thing a second time. Okay, so we got the one side mount rod holder in, the flush mount forward facing rod holder. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to install a set of these. These are actually 3D printed. They're 3D printed out of PETG. So they're going to be somewhat UV resistant, heat resistant, and very strong. And they're printed at 60% infill. So these will hold quite well. And they actually fit these gear head tracks. So these gear head tracks will just slide right in there. So you can mount accessories to them. And like I did with the flush mount rod holder, I'm going to use rivets to hold this in place. Now the only thing is, I'm limited to the size that I could 3D print. And sorry if that's noisy. Let's just decide how far to install this one. I did want to install 4, but this one here I'm going to have to 3D print a smaller one because it does get in the way of this pad eye here. So what I'm going to do is install this maybe halfway. Now leave a comment in the description below if you have tracks on your kayak, and if you prefer having the opening on the front of the kayak or the rear. Because I'm not sure if I should have this towards the front or towards the back. It all depends what the likelihood is that I'm going to have an accessory like a rod holder mounted back here versus mounted up at the end. Now I think the odds are I'm going to have equipment mounted closer to me than I will further away, because further away is harder to reach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to space this out in a way that if I am able to 3D print a longer one, I could reuse the same holes, remove this one, and install a longer one using the same holes. So the spacing will be the same. So I don't want to end up halfway across one of these tracks here. I think if I mount it right there and do the same on each side, I'll be able to mount my my Garmin Striker fish finder on one side and have a rod holder or a cup holder or something on the other, or a GoPro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it with the opening for the track adapter towards the front of the kayak. I'm going to line it up here, so if ever I decide to 3D print, or if I'm able to 3D print a longer one, I could reuse the same holes without risk running into an issue here. So I'm going to mount it with the middle hole right here. Right there. So that's marked like that. Okay, now I got to make sure that when I put all the rest of my holes, everything is in line. So I'm going to put the one rivet in place. The hole is a little bit small, but the head of the rivet itself, or the ball at the other end of the rivet, is keeping it aligned. So what I'll do is I'll drill out these other holes. Now I need to take my 3/16 drill bit and enlarge these holes just a little bit so the rivet can go through. I'm going to place all my rivets in here just to make sure that everything lines up before I rivet them in place. And one thing that's nice with these rivets as well that I didn't mention earlier is that they come with little O-rings. I don't know if I could see it here on the camera. But right here there's a little rubber O-ring that helps to seal out water. So we're going to put that on there. And I'm going to just get all my rivets in place. And then I'll tighten them up. And if you're interested in getting some, I'll leave a link to these rivets down in the description below. All right, so we got these rivets in place. They all have their rubber O-rings to seal out the water. The opening for the track adapter is facing away from me, the furthest point, which I think is probably the best way to do it. I think worst case, these are rivets. Worst case, I could drill out the rivet and flip the track around. I'm just going to put these in a cross pattern just to prevent any pressure on one side, more on one side than another of this track mount. And then I'll do this one here. I want this thing to sit nice and flush. All right, so we got this track mount installed. I'm not going to bore you with showing you the same thing on the other side. So now I could put in this track head and lock this rod holder in place. If I need to, I could just lift it out, readjust it, drop it back in. So I could use this for trolling, and it's 3D printed, but it's very, very strong. That's not going to go anywhere. And when you're kayak fishing anyways, you want to make sure you have your drag set fairly loose when your rods are in these, so you don't snag the bottom and get tipped over. All right, so I'll get this back out of here. Like I said, good and strong. So my plan for this front track here is going to be to install my fish finder. For my kayak, I picked up a Garmin Striker 5, which is all dusty right now. Garmin Striker 5 CV, which is a great fish finder. Lots of options right out of the box. It's a decent price. I think it was $500 Canadian for the one that I have. See if I could leave a link in the description below if you want to pick one of those up. Just got to get this gear head in here. There we go. So what I'm going to do is on this side, I'm going to have my Garmin Striker fish finder set up. And what I have here is I can leave a link to this Scotty mount in the description below if you're interested. It's actually going to go on the other side once I get it set up there. But it's an arm that you can easily lift your transducer out of the water when you get into shallow water, when you launch or when you pick up your boat. And then when you're ready to fish, you just drop this down. And it'll be on the other side, so this knob here will be facing me when I'm sitting in the seat. So it'll be easy to reach. And your fish finder mounts right in here. And then you have access to all your options and stuff on your fish finder. And I'm using a lithium-ion battery. If you're interested, let me know in the comments below, and I could show you how I'm going to set the lithium-ion battery up in electronics. And I will be setting up some LED light strips inside the kayak to light it up during the night. So this will be the setup that I have. And I 3D printed a sunshade as well for my fish finder, so it's easier to see during the day. So that'll be how this is set up now. Like mentioned before, I'm going to have a shorter track installed here, and I've got my flush mounted rod holder on this side. So I'm going to copy that on the other side, and then I should be ready for a good day on the water. So let me get the other side done, and I'll be back when that's finished. So there we go. I installed the track mount on that side as well as the flush mount rod holder. I've decided to wait to install these other tracks back here. I probably will eventually, but I'm not going to do it today. I'm running low on rivets, and I want to be able to install my other set of flush mount rod holders on my other kayak for fishing. So for now, this will do. I've got a spot here for a rod holder, a cup holder, whatever I decide to put on it. I've got my fish finder there mounted on the right. And I've got the track here in the middle that was already there for anything that I might need to mount to this track here. So I think that'll be it for tonight. We're going to head out for a paddle and hopefully catch some fish. So thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified of any of my upcoming videos. We're going to have more mods coming up on this kayak, and I've got a few woodworking projects coming up as well. So thanks again. We'll see you on the next one.